my mom was like, she asked me the question, like, if you could go anywhere in the world, like, where would you want to go? And I said, Australia. And she said, Becca, we're going. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. Like, I'm so excited. And she said, oh, not you, sorry. Me and your stepdad are going.
Manic.
Pixie.
Jump scare. Hosted by Quinn Murphy
And Becca Hobart.
Hi,
Hi, we're
we're
Quinn.
Quinn and
And we're
we're Becca.
Becca.
And welcome to Manic Pixie Jump Scare, a podcast where Becca and I talk openly about our shared delusions
Passions.
and
And
love
love for
for each
each other.
other.
Wait, are we like meant to do this whole thing in Australian accent? Like, have you thought about it?
Maybe we should. Maybe we should. I did think about that. Is a sort of I'm gonna have to keep saying there's a shark in the water to kind
There's
of
a shark in the
reorient
water.
myself.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
shark in the water. It's all right.
there was an episode of Sibling Rivalry, which is
Mm-hmm.
Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange's
Of
podcast, where
course.
they did the whole thing in British accents.
All right.
Um,
Well,
and Bob was like moving around England, like every time he would speak, he was like
did
attempting
not
a different
sound
accent.
consistent. All right.
Um,
Well, we'll
I have
try.
I have faith in your abilities to do it. My abilities,
I'd
no,
like to test
we'll
us.
test it out. No, we'll
Yeah,
try
we'll,
it. We'll try it. We'll
we'll
try it.
try. We'll try. Well, so if you couldn't tell already, this episode is another Stanless deep dive. And what other are we talking about?
We're in the Great Barrier Reef for this one.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's actually dead. God bless her.
God bless her.
That reef of ours.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So this episode's about Australia, our
Mm-hmm.
me and Quinn's actually native land, which you would never guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
So of
talk about it a
course
lot, but
we don't,
it's
we
where we
don't.
met.
That's where we met.
The story
Classic.
that we gave you guys is just kind of a cover because
Yeah. To protect ourselves,
it's
because we're actually
hard
Australian
for
spies.
it's hard for foreigners, even in an Anglo market, to make it, you know, in the same level as a true American. And
So
so
true.
Vic and I thought it good to, kind of come up with a dumb accent and, you know, just kind of
Yeah.
exist that way. But we're really letting
Yeah.
our hair down this episode. You know
Exactly.
what probably helps with this is that I was watching season 1 of The White Lotus last night with me mum.
Oh, is that based in Australia?
No, but Murray Bartlett is on it, who is Australian, and
Okay,
he's using his real
perfect.
accent. So,
Nice. Well,
mhm.
love to see it. Another Australian. But yeah, so basically, Quinn, I'm curious to know what your, other than like living here and like being from here,
Yeah.
what your first encounter, I guess, was with like Australian culture, like, speaking from the point of view of like an American child,
hmm
maybe. So like, what was that for you?
Well, Australia, my first interest in it, which I actually didn't remember because I was like, what am I going to bring to this segment?
Sure.
Was actually, uh, I really liked kangaroos growing up. Like kangaroos were like my favorite animal
Of
because
course.
something we don't talk about enough is favorite animal culture when you're a child. Like everybody's always like,
It's
people
party
don't get to know each other
personality.
by asking like, what do you do for a living? What are your hobbies? It's what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? What's your favorite food even? So favorite
Food.
animal, I was really leaning on the kangaroo in that time. I thought it was interesting how they just kind of hop around.
Yeah, it's
Um,
nice.
and they're also very violent with one another sometimes.
They're so violent also with humans. They
Yes,
will
yeah,
kick
yeah.
you. They'll kick the
And
shit out of you.
it's also kind of scary that they're just like around
Oh
in
yeah,
Australia. Like they're just like they're as prevalent as deer are here in the States.
it's so true.
Um,
They'll just turn up in your backyard and you're meant to be like, "All right, hey." And then they will kick you.
hey girl,
Hey, girl.
what's going on?
Joey's. Proper.
um, but yeah, marsupials in general.
Hmm.
And then something also, because you came up with a really good one that I'm not going to steal your thunder on, but that I
Well,
didn't think
thank
about
you.
until I looked at our outline.
Yeah.
um, is Survivor, which we all know I'm a huge Survivor fan. They
Right.
did their second season ever in Australia.
Oh my God, that must have been so tough for everyone.
Yeah, and it
The
was
elements.
yeah, because the advantage of doing it on like a tropical place is that there's more like food, whereas
Hmm.
like Australia there was like nothing. I'm pretty sure like it was pretty it's famously an arid kind of desolate
Yeah.
climate
Just
most of the
poison,
time.
really. Just
Yeah.
poison spiders and all that.
Yeah, and there were like fires, like all this stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah, but that was the second season ever, so it was very early in the show. And it's the
Hmm.
only season that was 42 days because
Okay.
um the regular season is 39 days and well up until season 40 and then because of COVID the last four seasons have been 26 days, which in my opinion makes for a lesser season, but you know.
Gotcha.
But now I'm just kind of afraid they're going to keep doing it because it costs less to do 26 days than 39 days.
Right.
So, you know, capitalism. Um,
Mm-hmm. Of course.
but yeah, I remember one like memory I have is there was this woman, she went by the moniker Med Dog, um, and she got like voted out pretty early, but
Okay.
she came back to the reunion and she was like playing a didgeridoo.
Slay.
Like she was so interested in the culture that she learned how to play the didgeridoo.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Yeah, which I wonder how hard it is to play it because it kind of just looks like a kazoo, but like much bigger.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She was
Good one
also
though.
in Survivor, like they have like a medical kit in case you like, you know, do anything. And in the
Hmm.
medical kit, there are condoms.
Wow.
And there was a whole thing at the reunion about how she was surprised to find those. And she was like, when I was on the island, I made sure all those condoms stayed in the medical kit.
She was gonna be pissed
She was
if people had
cracking
sex.
down on the sexual energy of the camp. Which, like, why would you guard it? Because, like, people are still gonna have sex, but then there might be a survivor baby,
Yeah. Oh my God, imagine the show paying for that.
literally.
That's tough.
Well, this happens much later, but a couple years ago on Big Brother, people are pretty sure there was a baby conceived in the house.
Wow.
So yeah,
Oh my God.
one thing about life, people are gonna fuck.
That's so true. Even on the show where they're meant not to and they get money for not, they do it.
Literally. Yes. Even on the show where they're like, if you do not fuck, you're gonna get money. They're like, I don't know about
Yeah,
that actually.
I think I
And on the
might.
show where you're literally meant to go out into the woods and be so dirty for months on end, people are like, you know what?
I think I might. Exactly. No, it's
You
really crazy.
must go nose blind or something. But
Yeah.
Bika,
Hmm.
I would now love to hear your kind of background when it comes to Australia, our home and
Oh,
native land.
yeah. Thanks so much for asking. There's a shark in the water. All right. That helps. So basically, as every other young girl did or just every person did in the early 2000s, you had to watch H2O.
Yes.
Um, it was iconic. It was everything you wanted it to be. And so I think that's really where like my obsession with Australia did begin
Mm.
because I was like so obsessed with these mermaids and just assumed like if you go live in Australia, like you will be a mermaid. And that's just true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, also watched the Scooby-Doo vampire movie, which is arguably in the top three of their
With
movies.
the Hex Girls? No.
No, that's a different one. It's like
That's
it's another band one. Like it's the Battle of the Bands, and they're all Australian bands in the outback. And then
mm,
actually, like a lot of them are pretending to be vampires to freak people out.
I feel like
It's kind of
I
sick.
remember that one. That was such a golden era of Scooby-Doo.
No, literally. I also that film is how I learned about waterbeds.
No, because we need to talk about how big like waterbeds had a stranglehold on the culture.
No,
Because
like in
like
the
I feel like
70s
a
and then the
lot, no,
2000s.
literally, like because also I feel like that 70s show was a big part of it. And
Yeah,
it felt like a waterbed was something you would encounter in your life. It was like crawling through an air duct, like to do something mischievous. Like that happened on every
exactly.
show. And
Yep.
like you were like, how am I going to do that when the time comes? Like a
Yeah.
bully stealing your lunch money. It's like, how am I going to confront that when the
No, it's
time
so
comes?
right.
Nobody
Or
tried to
even the
steal my lunch
quicksand.
money.
No, no one ever did that. Well, first of all, I never carried cash on me as a child.
It's a check.
Um, but yeah. What else? Well, yeah, that was like big Australian media. And then later, obviously, like Love Island Australia was just like
Mm.
the best. Me and my mom watch, and I will talk about this later actually, how it has affected me. But we watched Bondi Beach or Bondi Rescue, sorry, which is like the reality show about the lifeguards at Bondi Beach. Um,
Oh, you know, I love a workplace drama.
Oh my God, it's incredible. And like the craziest things happen. There are in a crazy amount of times where people will step on a sea urchin, like as
Oh.
they're meant to go in the water. And then they like have to take this like laughing gas that like gets the poison out. Um, and like it's crazy. Like,
So I'm stepping on that sea urchin intentionally.
I'm
You
trying
mean
to
I
get that
get
laughing
saved by a
gas.
lifeguard who's probably hot and Australian, and then I get to do some
Exactly.
laughing gas on the beach?
Oh my God. Free trip. All
How about
right.
yeah, literally.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
MPJ
Yeah,
Live, that'll be our activity.
exactly. No, but Australia just I've just always loved like the aesthetic of it, like just chilling, like in
Hmm.
with the blue water. I love sharks. They're my favorite animal, as you may know. And there's so many there. You got to be
Hmm.
careful because there's so many, but it's lovely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love Australia. That's why it's on the stand list.
Okay, well, I think that's sufficient background. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to take a cheeky little break, and we'll be right back to get into, you know, a little bit more general information about Australia.
Right.
Guys, I'm scared. Rocky.
G'day.
Just kidding. That's actually offensive and that's a stereotype. And guys, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
It's not fucking funny. You're having a fucking laugh right now. Sorry. You know I like to practice my British accent
Wow,
too.
that was crazy.
Um,
All right.
Speaking of Britain,
Ugh.
now we want to get into a little bit of the history of Australia.
Yeah,
Um, and so consensus is that Australia has been inhabited for about 50 to 60,000 years.
long time.
Yeah, so it was inhabited by First Nations of Australia peoples, which refer to both Aboriginal peoples and Torres Strait Islander peoples, who are ethnically distinct groups. So they were like kind of similar to American indigenous groups. There were a bunch of different kind of Aboriginal people kind of like spotted across, but then there were these
Mhm.
Torres Strait Islander peoples who were a little bit more like isolated from my understanding and who are a little bit ethnically different. Um, and so population prior to colonization was about 300,000 to 1 million First Peoples living in Australia prior to
Mhm.
colonization. It must have been so crazy to live during like ancient times
Right.
and
I
truly
think
not
so
know anything
too.
going on around you,
Scary. They don't
but
even have
also
cell
kind of
phones,
like
guys.
liberating.
You're right. You're right.
I feel like a modern problem is that we have way too much knowledge of what's going on.
That's a great point from you, actually. Great point from you.
So I'm kind of romanticizing that at this point. But
Hmm.
so then Mr. James Cook maps the east coast of Australia and claims much of the territory for Britain. Um, and
Oh.
then surprise, surprise, the Europeans give First Nations peoples diseases and kill a lot of them. They also enslaved and raped many of them. One especially fucked up thing I found out while I was doing my research is there was an interest in Tasmanian Aboriginal skulls. So Tasmania is like an island off the southeast coast of Australia.
Mhm.
Um, and so there must have been to the European colonists some kinds of like visual variance in like head size. And so people who studied like craniums and like that kind of thing became really interested in Tasmanian people. And
Oh,
so they took the skeleton of Truganini, who was a Tasmanian Aboriginal woman, and they exhumed it 2 years after her death, despite her pleas not to. And of course, her remains were later placed on display, and her body parts would not be returned for 100 years. So that happened in like late 19th century, and they were not returned until like the 1970s.
oh man. Yeah, it's not nice actually.
The British were so fucked up for truthful because like the amount they did the same thing with Sarah Bartman, who was in Australian or not Australian, African woman, I
Mm,
believe,
right.
who was like native to one of the tribes around South Africa. But they literally
Hmm.
like toured her around and like showed her off because she was like she just had like a body type that like Europeans had never been exposed to before, and it was just this really weird like
Hate
they had
that
a
actually.
yeah they had a really weird anyway. Um,
Yeah, gross.
colonialism is so fucked up, especially British colonialism.
Breaking news, guys. Breaking news.
I know you guys
Yeah.
haven't heard this before, but okay.
Colonization, bed.
So the British are colonizing, and recently around this time, the American colonies are like, you know what, we're fed up. We're going to do our
Hmm.
own thing over here. And
Yeah.
so Britain was like, well, where are we going to send all our prisoners now? And so
Fuck.
Britain sent the first fleet to establish a new penal colony. And then, Becca, you found a little interesting piece of information here.
Well, yeah, of course. So, well, yes. So there were like a lot of port cities on like the what's now known as like the Gold Coast of Australia for British colonies. But famously, the second ever capital city was Hobart, which was established um in the late 1700s, early 1700s,
Mm.
and it is in Tasmania. It's now the capital of Tasmania, and it was named after Lord Hobart, who I am a descendant of.
Oh my
He was,
God.
yeah, he was back in Britain being Secretary of State for the war in the colonies, which kind of flopped, so maybe it's on him. But get this, he did go into office, that's right, on my birthday, June 23rd. Oh my
And there's
God.
no such thing as a coincidence.
Exactly, exactly.
That's
Um,
crazy. You have that natural connection.
yeah, he's my distant relative. There are like Hobart Castle still in England. But I really want to go to Hobart, Australia. This part, Tasmania, Australia, is like the only place in Australia where it does snow and they have mountains and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
really?
they have a
Yeah, because
really
it's probably getting
interesting
pretty
climate.
southern enough where it
Exactly.
starts snowing again. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
Yeah. So I love
So
that.
fun. I didn't know there was that connection. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And then throughout the rest of the 18th and 19th centuries, the British continued to push into Australia. I didn't know this, but Australia had several gold rushes. So like what happened in
Hmm.
California, here in
Right.
America, also happened in Australia. So they had a lot of gold there. And that actually leads to the formation of White Australia laws,
Mm.
which describes a set of laws that made it harder for non-white people, specifically the Chinese and Pacific Islanders, to immigrate to Australia. And I believe those came about firstly as a kind of reaction to the gold rushes because there were a lot of Chinese people coming and trying to get in on the gold rush because, chase a bag.
Right,
Um,
right,
and so, yeah, Australia said, you know what the remedy to that is? Some good old racism.
right.
Um, and yeah, and then the world starts warring with each other. The girls are fighting in like an ultimate kind of way. And
Yeah, like
Australia
really bad
joins the
way.
side of the Allies in both world wars. So, we're on the side of Nazism, which is good. Um,
I don't think they're not known for having like a particularly strong army or navy.
oh yeah, it was like,
Like
you
it's
know.
kind of like it's the thought that counts actually,
Yeah.
like us being on your
Like,
side.
oh
So
good.
thank you.
They're also so isolated. Like,
Like you can't even get there to help.
yeah, like I don't even know how they were getting there in the 1940s. Can you imagine traveling to Australia in the 1940s? Like,
Yeah. No, no,
how do
no.
people even do that?
It's too much,
I
guys.
guess on a boat. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
actually, the Aboriginal communities of Australia were like some of the first mariners, like early
yeah.
mariners. Like they were
Mm-hmm.
building boats. Like they were like, we've got to go around this big land of ours.
Literally.
So slay.
Slay you guys. Slay on.
Love you
Um,
guys.
and then Australia spends the post-war period.
Whoa.
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 Spends the post-war period encouraging European immigration and gets around to repealing some of those really racist laws they enacted. So Australia is not really a population like dense country from my understanding.
No, it's not.
Like the middle of the country is like kind of uninhabitable.
Yeah, no, there's
Well,
no one there.
in the terms of modern society, the
Right.
Aboriginal people were making it work,
Mm-hmm.
living off the land, you know.
No, I think like 90% of the population lives on either one of the coasts.
Yeah. Um, and so they were like, guys, come over here. Um,
Yeah, get over here.
and so now, where the real fun begins, is the accents, because that is ultimately one of Beck and I's favorite cultural exports
Of course.
from Australia. Um, and so the Australian accent kind of begins as a mix of British accents. England is known, of course, for their regionalisms, and the modern Australian accent was kind of born out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So many Australian colonists maintained that Australian English was the true English because it was devoid of those regionalisms, because like everybody there just kind of started talking in a similar way. But if you know anything about languages, that's not how any of them work. Like inevitably, kind of like dialects develop and stuff.
Right.
Um, and so there are different kinds of Australian accents. Broad, which we might have been slipping into. And then there's
You could
general,
say
which is kind of
that.
the prototypical Australian accent.
Mm-hmm.
Broad might be like if you're trying to do like it is how people kind of like regionally speak. So it's kind of like, you know, like some of those like intense kind of regional accents, like if somebody has like a really intense like Boston accent or like New York accent, like that's kind of like what that's kind of akin to like a broad Australian. And
Right.
so it might be the one that like people are really like, oh hi, cheeky keen, like something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then general is the more prototypical Australian accent. That's what Becca and I talk in.
Yeah.
Um, and then cultivated is more British. And that was actually kind of rose because it was taught in elocution classes.
Mm.
Because people were obsessed and are still obsessed with pronouncing words correctly, even though there's not really correct way to pronounce any word.
Yeah, that's like the point of English, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And it's just,
Whatever.
you know, you speak differently based off where you're from, babes.
Mm-hmm.
So and
Exactly.
can't we all accept that instead of having to like crush everybody's dialect into one thing?
Right.
I don't know. But that's, you know, some
Guys.
background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Becca, I thought it would be interesting to talk about some of our favorite Australians.
I think that's a great point. Um, I myself am a huge fan of, and this is just off the top of the dome.
Hmm.
I love Margot Robbie.
Okay, I forgot she was
I l-
Australian.
yeah, I love Chris Hemsworth. I'll say it.
Hmm.
Um, I love who even else?
He's from there.
Oh, Mike's Mike. Come on.
The most important famous
Like my
Australian
favorite
right now.
Australian, I think ever. Isn't Kylie Minogue Australian?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, now I have to Google a list of Australian
No famous
celebrities.
Australians. I'm looking at the same.
Just oh, Nicole Kidman. Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah. Heath Ledger.
All right, sure.
Hugh Jackman.
Oh,
Oh my God, you forget a lot of these people.
Pete Blanchett. Are you kidding?
Tony
Iggy
Collette.
Azalea.
Iggy Azalea. Us naming people. Kate Blanchett's
literally.
Australian. I thought she was British.
No, now
And
that
the
you talk
lion,
about it,
the lion
she's
starts to get a little shisty.
yeah.
Really.
Naomi Watts. I've seen this incredible movie that is so random called
Mm-hmm.
Adore that her and Robin Wright are in, and it's based in Australia, and it's they're besties, and they're like in their current age, and they fall in love with each other's sons.
Oh, I saw previews for that.
It's kind of slay.
And aren't the
Like, what
sons
the
like
hell?
underage?
Well, no, they're like 20,
Yeah.
but they knew each other when they were young. Like,
Yeah, that
well,
seems like a really fucked up concept
yeah.
for a movie.
Yeah, but it's kind of good.
Like
It
you
was
said, I
kind of
kind of
good.
enjoyed it, to be
I kind
honest.
of actually was entertained. My
Oh my
goodness.
goodness. Well,
Yeah.
that is
Um, Naomi
quite
Watts
something.
best. Well, what's some of your favorite Australian celebrities, or have you found all of them?
No, one of my favorite right now is definitely Captain Jason.
Right. Oh my God. You're so right. Captain
Captain
Jason,
Jason.
hit us up. Email in.
Captain Jason, please email in. Better yet, call me. My number is.
Wait, like if we asked him to be on the podcast, like he has no reason to say no.
You can say that about anyone.
You're true, but like
You're
I feel like
true.
he could respond like,
No, because
I
I
don't
just.
know.
It'd be good that we do this through Zoom because if we were in person, I don't.
I'd act a fool.
I'd be like,
It'd be crazy for me.
yeah,
You see me get on the Zoom call, I've like never looked more beautiful. I got my hair blown out. I've
literally.
got my nails done.
You're
I'm like,
like,
Jason, it's just
you've
another
got, we
day.
both have like these artificial like tans to make us a little bit more like
the the
attractive.
Facetune filter's on. The blur filter. Slay.
Little pump. It was funny. My mom
Jason.
walked past the TV and she was like looking at a woman and she goes, "What's wrong with her face?" And I just go, "Fresh pump."
Lovely. It's so true though, I'm sure.
Um, who are some Kylie Minogue?
Hmm.
I just have to give an extra shout out to. Really, kind of, it's just one of. She's kind of the Carly Rae Jepsen of like for people like
The 90s.
yeah, like she's kind of like the Carly Rae Jepsen of the '90s. Like she's just this really solid person who's always making great pop music, but never really kind of
Yeah.
like breaks through.
Blew up. It's true.
Um, oh, Jacob Elordi is another one.
Oh, you're right.
And also another one. I was just thinking of it. Who was I thinking of? Oh, I mentioned him earlier, but Murray Bartlett, um,
Hmm.
who's one of the hardest people alive, I believe.
Actually.
I would argue in a court of law. Um,
Stand for that.
and we have the Irwin family,
You're right.
Steve,
Yeah.
Bobby,
Classic.
Bindi.
Uh, Bindi.
I did text Becca one time that I found out Bobby Irwin was a Sagittarius and he's Australian. Um, and so I think that's a good
Something to think
candidate for
about.
somebody for me to have like my mate, you know, not just like
To
my mate, but like my mate.
be boys with. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Of course. Oh, Isla
Um,
Fisher. I love her.
who's that?
She's married to Sacha Baron Cohen, and she was in Scooby Doo, the Real People movie, and Confessions of a Shopaholic.
Isla Fisher. Isla Fisher. Oh my God. She's the one that always gets confused with Amy Adams.
You're right.
She's married to Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yep. So
What a
random, right?
what a duo. Who was she in? I thought Confessions of a Shopaholic was Amy Adams.
No, it's
See
her.
this whole time. You literally asked me that
Oops.
recently. You were like, "Have you seen Confessions of a Shopaholic?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, the Amy Adams movie."
Oh, I didn't hear you say
Who
Amy
was she in
Adams.
Scooby Doo? Oh, she was on Spooky Island, wasn't she?
She was Mary Jane. That's like my favorite name.
What's the matter, Mary Jane?
Oh, the guy from Avatar, Jake Sully. He's Australian.
Now you know I don't. I famously don't watch movies, so
Right, right.
it's
Just
gonna be
ignore that
it's gonna
then.
be hard. It's gonna be hard. Oh, Reese Nicholson, who is an Australian comedian. Um, he's on the judges panel for RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under.
Uh-huh.
Um, and
Do you
he's
see
very
this
funny.
photo of Jacob Elordi I found in the chat?
Oh, wait. I wonder if this will show on the on the recording.
I don't think so.
Wait, what is that?
Um, I don't
So
know what he's competing for.
we have Jacob Elordi
Yeah.
wearing, but it's in
A
2012,
fedora.
circa
Yeah.
2012. So like
Right.
not but like an awkward teenage Jacob Elordi.
Yeah.
Um,
Wearing a fedora and
he's
having
wearing
been
a white
crowned
fedora
something. A
with
bow
a
tie.
red brim, a bow tie, and like nice checker jacket. Might be houndstooth. We can't really tell to the textures.
Right. Yeah.
Wearing a little brooch too, and then he has this lovely little sash on. It says Emirates Steak 2012 match. So maybe he was at like a football game.
Could be. Or maybe like polo or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This also names him as a budding young activist because he has spoken out in support of the Black Lives Matter movement.
And
He
for
could
that, you
not be
love
more
him.
active. He could not be more active. He also does have the same birthday as Ariana Grande, so he is a Cancer. It's true.
Cancer man. Oh,
I know. That's why he falls in love with every coworker he has,
literally. And that's why he
even
can
Joey
play.
King,
And that's why he can play. What's his face? So good. Nate Jacobs.
Nate.
Nate Jacobs
Yeah,
is very Cancer man coded
so moody. You're
when you
right.
think about it.
When you think about it and you get scared,
Um,
it's true.
yeah. Wait, you said is Evan a Cancer?
My brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the things we related on? Because we both have Cancer brothers.
Yep. Wait, when's your brother's birthday?
July 18th.
Evans is July 10th, the same as my grandma, actually.
Oh,
I have so many cancers in my family.
your family has a lot of like dual birthdays too.
Yep, it's true.
And your mother's a Cancer too, right?
Right? The day
Oh my
after
God,
me.
three Cancers in the house.
And that exactly. Exactly.
A lot. There's like a mea culpa every day.
It's crazy, actually.
Everybody's got to be like, okay, well,
And of
um,
course, my dad's a Scorpio, so couldn't be scary, actually.
wow, what a world over there.
Yeah.
My dad's
Anywho.
Scorpio too. Can we make out? Wait, okay, so this is a fun question. What are some of your favorite Australian animals, or just some of your favorite? Because
I
something I figured out that I didn't know is that apparently, like, one of the reasons Australia is so no, biologically fascinating is
right.
because it's been isolated for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of like the species there are like endemic to Australia, so they're only really found in Australia. So
Right.
apparently, like, it's like 85%, give or take, of like mammals there are only found in Australia.
Yeah, I love
And
that
then
fact.
like same with like fungi, about 50% of the bird populations are endemic to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so Australia is kind of like known for its biodiversity.
Love that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Becca, what are some of your favorites?
I'm definitely a koala girl. Like,
Really?
love them. They're so cute.
I feel like the main thing of any trip to Australia is like you got to go to that place where they let you hold the koalas.
Exactly. You gotta
There are
hug a
probably a few of them.
koala.
Oh, you know what I
Exactly.
want to do? Wait, I might
What?
save that. I might save it.
All right. All right. Um, okay. And then obviously I love sharks so much. Um, Australian sharks. I just can't like, yeah,
It's
they're
ticking all
so
the boxes for
sexy.
Becca.
Exactly. Um, I do I love a lot of like aquatic animals. So I don't know, like even an Australian octopus would be nice to meet.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I
What
want to
about you,
know.
Quinn?
I want to know
Uh,
like what sharks are really native. I think the
well, of
great
course, the great
white.
white. Yeah,
I didn't know that. But you could go to California and get attacked by a great white.
that's true. They're
Am I not to
everywhere.
believe? Am I? I'm like not afraid of shark attacks. Is that weird?
No, I'm not scared either.
That's like an anxiety I never have
I
because
used to want my like finger or something to be bit off really bad just so I could
you're like
say.
testing it. You're like bleeding in the water. You're like cutting yourself with like a piece of paper before
Exactly.
you go out in the water, being like,
Please,
"Oh,
please.
I hope nothing bites me." I'll tell you what, my cuts ruin a day at the beach.
Just my toe.
Just my toe.
Exactly.
But honestly, I really love kangaroos.
Right.
I still have an affinity for kangaroos. I think marsupials are such an interesting thing they have going on there.
It's
Um,
true.
because like it's just very unique. And do you know what I'm actually really interested in?
What?
Um, is the fact that they're like used to be like megafauna,
Wait. Oh, wait,
like
what do you mean?
huge animals. Like there used to
Oh,
be like big kangaroos.
whoa.
Like they used to be like huge.
That's so
And
cool.
they've slowly gotten like smaller throughout time, but
Smaller.
there used to be like it's called megafauna. And so it's
Oh,
all like it's just animals, but like much bigger. And I'm like, what if
oh
there
my
was just a
God.
huge fucking kangaroo, like 9 feet or something?
That'd be
Like
awesome.
so scary, but so fun.
Oh,
The dingo is another good one.
right. Right.
Oh, I love wallabies.
Oh.
I went through a phase where like, do you remember? I don't know if this is like unethical at all.
Mm-hmm.
But like wallabies were like kind of coming up as like a pet. I don't know if I was talking about a wallaby or a wombat before. What's a wallaby? Wallaby way. Oh, Finding Nemo was probably we didn't talk about
Oh,
it in the
right.
first one.
You're right.
Oh no, a wallaby is like a smaller kangaroo. So no, I was talking about a wombat.
Mm. Those things.
They're little like cute little rodent
Yes.
creatures.
They're
Like,
so cute. There's
yeah.
something like them also that's
They can
like,
weigh up to 80 pounds.
whoa.
Whoa.
New Zealand has like a version of that that is like really cute and it smiles at you.
Really? Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
talking about New Zealand,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but
No,
the
not this
Kiwi
time
would definitely
around.
be up there.
Yeah, of
Kiwi
course.
is such a cute little fucking bird.
The kookaburra is a really cute bird, and that's from Australia. And it screams.
Kookaburra. Any animal that screams, I'm like,
I
I automatically
relate
relate
to.
to you.
Yeah. She's my
Um,
sister in that.
yeah, she was my sister. The
Because
emu,
she's screaming. Of course, the emu.
the emu is funny because the Tasmanian devil.
So I've never actually. Is that like a real animal it's based on?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like the Tasmanian devil from the Looney Tunes.
Ah!
Um, yeah, it's like a badger type thing.
Oh my God.
There's also, of course, the platypus.
Of course.
A lot of people were interested in the platypus. It had a bit, Parry the platypus really put platypi on the map.
What a pie.
Um,
Ah.
and then the echidna, I forgot about this animal, but it's kind of like a porcupine with like a beak.
Hmm.
Um, they just have so much cool shit here. Like,
Literally. But so like so much poisonous stuff, guys. I cannot emphasize
yeah,
enough. Like there is so
yeah.
many poisonous spiders and snakes.
The
You must be
anti-venom.
careful.
Yeah, you must be
Yeah.
careful. You
It's
must.
you have to be careful. All right.
Fortune
Yeah.
favors those who are careful. Um, and yeah, to kind of round out our discussion of Australia,
Hmm.
Dream MPJ Live Australia, which definitely is in the future. We're going to
Of
manifest it right
course.
here. What's your
Literally.
dream MPJ Live location for Australia, which would eventually just turn into a little bestie trip for me and Becca to explore our native land
Of
and
course.
get connected to our heritage, really.
Of course. Well, of course, I really want to go to Sydney and like a lot of places in New South Wales. And then
Mm-hmm.
if I'd love to hit the other coast, go to Perth. And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to go to Hobart.
Yeah, your
It's in my
birthright.
blood. Like I
Literally.
must. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Quinn? Where do you want to go?
Definitely want to go to Melbourne.
Right?
Because that's kind of, the main girl up there.
Right?
Adelaide might also be interesting.
Mm,
As we all know, I conceived of a character. Or maybe we don't all know. I conceived of a character who was from Adelaide.
right.
Um, and so yeah. But thing I thought about earlier that I made a big stink about
Hmm.
MPJ live at an aquarium in Australia.
Yup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It would be
yeah, I couldn't
us
agree more.
convening with the wildlife.
Oh
Like,
my God. So iconic, actually. We'd be able
no,
to
going
talk
to
to sharks.
what?
We'd be able to
Yeah, you
talk to
can. I
sharks.
think you have that ability already.
Yeah, but it'll
If
just
you were
be a nice
on
location to
no,
do
if you were
so.
on MPJ or no, not MPJ, H2O,
Whoa. Yeah. Oh, that would be like my power.
there would be your power. You could talk to all the species, the aquatic
Aquatic
species.
life. Oh my God, you're so right.
I feel like they should have gotten in more like scuffles with them though.
Yeah,
Like
it
you're
wasn't
telling me
really
they
an
never encountered a
issue.
shark?
It tried to bite the little fins.
Literally.
That would happen, literally.
I've got a
Right.
special power that I'm not afraid to use.
Baby, there's a shark in the water.
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 Um, but yeah, oh my God, nothing like an aquarium to unlock a level of childlike wonder in me.
Literally, I love
Um,
aquariums so much.
and so yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, any other thoughts on Australia more broadly before we get into our segments?
I don't think so, guys. Expect to see us there soon, is all I
Yeah,
can say. Is
all
all
I
I
can
can say.
say at this moment. And so yeah, we're gonna take a little break and then we'll be back for our Manic Pixie moments and our jump scares.
Perfect.
Guys, I'm scared. A
There's a
dingo
shark
ate
in
my
the
baby.
water. Also, something important to note right now is that they don't call them shrimp, they call them prawns.
Prawns.
So it's prawns on the Barbie, if you're even gonna say that.
There's a
All right.
prawn on the Barbie.
Just had to put that up there. But of course, it's time for our stand list or weekly segments. So we're gonna explain our jump scare and a manic pixie moment. The jump scare, which we start out with, so we can leave off on a positive note. The jump scare is anything that is making Quinn or I fearful, scared, a little bit hesitant to like go on in life. Um,
Yeah.
and of course, this time it's going to be considering Australia. So, Quinn, what is your jump scare?
My jump scare is honestly how long it takes to get to there from America.
Oh my God. Oh
Like
my
it takes
God.
a good 20 something hours to get over
Like,
to
yeah.
Australia. Like
Yep.
there's no good way to do it, really.
Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Especially on the East Coast, like maybe if you live on the West Coast, it's a little bit more
Right.
convenient, but like East Coast, oh my goodness, it's just so far away.
It's going to take forever. Yeah, you're
The other
right.
side of the world, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I don't know. It's just really far.
The inconvenience.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's like, how will I ever get over there? I'm gonna have to brave it so hard.
Yeah,
Um,
literally. Oh
but
my
yeah.
God.
Anyway, but Becca,
Mm.
what is your jump scare when it comes to Australia?
So I don't think I've told this story in the podcast already, but um, when I've always said like Australia is the number one place I want to travel to. Like I love Australia.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it was 2019 when my mom was like, she asked me the question, like, if you could go anywhere in the world, like, where would you want to go? And I said Australia. And she said, Becca, we're going. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. Like, I'm so excited. And she said, oh, not you, sorry. Me and your stepdad are going. And I said,
And she's so wrong for that.
girl, why would you phrase it like that? How could you do that to me? And so, of course, I was really pissed. And I was really resentful for when she went, and I couldn't even enjoy myself when she was there. Just knowing like the things she was doing, and I was so jealous. And of course, only the best thing ever happened to her, which is she went to Bondi Beach and she met our favorite lifeguard. Like he was there that day.
Oh my
And she
God.
got a photo with him.
Oh, it's the
Despicable,
worst.
actually, literally.
My mum famously did a similar thing when she went to Greece for my cousin's birthday. And like literally she was over there and she was like, wish you were here. And I was like, where was that NG before you left for the trip?
Yeah, what the
Um,
hell? It's just rude. I can't.
yeah, I can relate to
I
it. I can
can't.
relate to it.
It's just too bad.
Yeah.
Well, well, that's the negative though. And so now we must
Mm-hmm.
turn our cheeks and move to the positive. So this is our manic pixie moment. Is anything that was particularly slay, lovely, wonderful about Australia to us? So, Quinn, what is your manic pixie moment for Australia?
Probably like when I was preparing my character for Voice and Movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his name is
Classic.
Ben.
Right?
You guys
You've
have
met
not
him
heard the list
before.
of him.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, you
You
guys
met
have
him
met him
in
before. Yeah,
in a
yeah, yeah. Gift of the
crazy
jump
way.
scare.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Gift of the jump scare is like the Rosetta Stone of MPJ. Well, no,
Exactly.
Stan List is like the Rosetta Stone. Like Gift of the jump scare was like Treaty of Versailles or something. Like it was like,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
like something like that. Like it was an
Right.
important historical event.
Right.
Um, and yeah, but just like the whole, because I did a lot of research, I did a lot of background, and I was like, okay,
Mm,
so where's he from? What's his whole deal? And
right.
then I was like, well, how is he getting to America? So it was like this whole thing where I created this I created this narrative that Ben was on study abroad in New York, and he was interning at Satisfactory, which is Phoebe
Right.
Bridges's record label. Um,
Of course.
and he had come home with one of his friends he had made at American Uni and was stuck in Pittsburgh. No,
Exactly.
and no, and like the part of that I didn't even like remember, and like that everybody was really chucking up at, or no, laughing, chuckling at.
Chuck it up at. We all
Well, they might have
vomited.
been,
It was
they were chuckling so
crazy.
much they started to chuck up. Um, is when someone was like, "Well, what's your favorite thing about America?" And I like just go, "Probably those little Mormons that you guys have,"
It's crazy.
because at that time, outside of our university, there were a lot of Mormons trying to convert people,
And paint your Bible. It's
literally.
crazy. Yeah.
Um, and they would like, there was this one time I was wearing my little flower jumper that I wore in a recent episode.
Mm,
Um, and I always get complimented on that garment whenever I wear it. Like it's inevitable, ultimately.
right.
Um, and I was wearing it, and someone was like, "I really like your jacket," and it was funny because one of the Mormons was like, "I really like your jacket," and then, or she might have said like outfit even more broadly, and I was like, "Oh, thank you," and then literally the shirt I was wearing said queer icon on it,
Oh, she didn't see that.
and I was like, "Tricked ya,
Gotcha.
got your
Gotcha.
ass."
Good
But
job.
yeah. But Becca, I now must have to ask you. I must ask you the same question.
Nice.
What is your manic pixie moment when it comes to Australia?
Well, I have to ask, like, it's not what I can do for the Australian accent, it's what the Australian accent can do for me. And when I go out to bars, especially in Pittsburgh, and I when I was randomly in Ohio that one time, and I pretended to be Australian and I asked for free drinks because it was my first time in America.
Mm-hmm.
That worked really well, and I got a lot of free stuff. And it's so fun to lie to people. Even
Oh,
in Pittsburgh, we're
1,000%. 1,000%.
yeah, I love lying. And so like just telling people like when I'm out, like, yeah, I'm from Australia, like crazy. There's also when third roommates like high school friends visited, one
Third
of the kids
roommate.
one of the kids like he went
Code
to
name.
Harvard, like he's smart. He still believes to this day I'm Australian. And at one point I like revealed I was American and he was like, "Oh, she's
No.
kidding."
She's kidding right now. She's capping.
Cap, cap.
Cap.
Exactly.
Factor cap, your cap. He was like,
Kip. Me to Captain Jason in the middle of the night at 3 a.m.
Kip.
at his door. Kip.
Please, please let me in, please.
Let
Dum, dum, dum,
me
dum,
in.
dum.
I love that man.
Ah,
But yeah, so Australian accent, love it. Does so much for me.
literally.
Well,
And also, I have to say, your presentation for voice and movement when you did it on the Australian accent
right.
was very good and
Well,
very
thank you.
aquatic themed.
Yeah, it's true.
Aesthetic.
Thank you.
One thing about Becca is she's going to cultivate an aesthetic.
It's true. And I did download that Google Docs like theme from the internet, so
Oh,
I'm glad
really?
it worked. Yeah, it went over well.
And
Right?
speaking of, we have not addressed the fact we always like don't address Becca's virtual background.
Yeah.
She has a pink Australian flag behind
Yeah,
her.
it's the glam version. So
Australia if it's slayed.
oh, also
Australian flag if it's slayed.
I meant to bring up that something weird about Australia is they also have like two main political parties,
Mm-hmm.
and the Liberal Party is actually their center right party, and the Labour Party is actually their left party.
Yeah.
How goofy.
That's yeah. Labor usually means left
Left.
in terms of, but I haven't done because our Liberal Party is also center right.
Exactly.
Beck and I talked about a couple of
Exactly.
weeks ago. But
Right.
um, yeah,
Yeah, crazy.
it's tough.
Australia, place of dreams and nightmares.
Australian politics, literally. But I think that brings us to the end of another Stanless deep dive. We're going to return to the shore now.
Yep.
But Becca, where can people keep up with you if they are so inclined?
Yeah, well, they can follow me on Instagram at Becca Hobart, on Twitter and Spotify at Bex Gloss, and then they can also find me wandering the streets of Perth, trying to find where I belong.
You're trying to find Iggy. Feet in the red
Exactly.
dirt, school skirt, sugar cane, back lane.
I'm going to be repeating that on the streets. All right. Quinn, where can the people keep up with you individually if they're so inclined?
You can follow me at Quinn P. Murphy on both TikTok and Instagram. And you can also follow me at Quinn P. Murphy _ on Twitter. And I'm actually wearing my Moona shirt today. So you can find me dreaming of being at the Lord Australian tour shows where Moona is opening for her. Because if it was a Moona Lord doubleheader, I don't know how I would recover from that. I don't know how I would come back from that. Especially because when I saw Lord, she didn't have an actual like opener. It was just like a DJ.
Right.
Who like wasn't playing even good music even. So it's like, why are you up there?
God bless him.
But can I also say, this is completely random, but a couple weeks ago no, not a couple weeks ago. Well, yeah, a couple weeks ago when you guys are hearing this.
Okay.
There was a clue on Jeopardy, and the answer to it was I Am the Dance Commander, which is the Kesha remix album from like 2011 or something.
Did anyone know it?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think so because I think I Am the Dance Commander was in the question and maybe the answer was Kesha, but like the crux of the Jeopardy question was I Am the Dance Commander, which felt like such like a niche thing. And I was
Deep
like,
cut.
oh well, I've loved Fuck Him, He's a DJ since I was like 11 years old.
Right.
I've been off book with the song. He's a stereotype. And it's funny because it's not like a bad thing. And the joke is that he's a DJ. So she's saying he's a stereotype.
Aye. Ew. Exactly.
But Becca, where can people keep up with the show if they want more hard-hitting journalism like that?
Right. Well, they can follow at Manic Pixie Jumpscare on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where we post the podcast at length and also some exclusive content over there. They can also email in at manicpixiejumpscare@gmail.com, where we will respond to basically anything you'd like to say.
Literally.
Yeah.
We're
Quinn.
And
we're
Becca.
Becca. And thank you
for
listening. Is that your didgeridoo?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manic Pixie Jumpscare is hosted by Quinn Murphy
and Becca Hobart. Executive produced by Quinn Murphy and Becca Hobart.
Sound and video editing by Quinn Murphy.
Social media management and highlights by Becca Hobart.
And our theme song was written by Quinn Murphy, Becca Hobart, and Nandita Mahesh.